What's going on, guys? I'm Dan Hulsey with Clubcraft here in Jupiter, Florida. Today we're going to talk about building a wedge set custom. I have my utility wedge 50 degree, which has already been custom built. I also have my 56 degree Titleist Vokey wedge that I got here at Clubcraft. It's also been custom built to match. And I have my brand new 60 degree Vokey wedge with stock shaft and grip that I'm going to be changing out to the same exact shaft I have in my wedges to have a complete custom set. So I have a nice brand new aftermarket KBS Tour C-Taper 125S Plus shaft that we're going to be installing into my new Titleist Vokey SM5 wedge. First step in the process is going to be to tear the grip off here, take off the head, and then replace the shaft. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so the next step, once we took out the head off the shaft, is we're going to actually clean out the rest of the head. We're going to use two different pieces. The first one's going to be a bristle brush here, just to get all the grooves. We'll use some of the heat to warm it up and take off all the pieces inside, working it back and forth. The next bit we're going to use is just a standard drill bit here. Just make sure it matches the size of the hosel. Don't put one in there too big. Alright, so once we've cleaned out the rest of the head, we're going to turn down the end of the shaft to be able to fit inside it. That way I can measure the club to know where the length is going to be for when I finish the build and put the grip on. Before I cut this new shaft that I have, KBS C-Taper 125S, and put it into my 60 degree, I need to make sure that I account for the cap that's going to be on the grip. Caps vary from 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. This MCC Plus 4 reduced taper grip is a 1/4 inch cap. So I'm actually going to be cutting this shaft to 35.5 to make room for the 1/4 inch cap to have a total length of 35 3/4. Now we'll put it back in, check our work. Should be right at 35.5. And I am exactly there, perfect. So before we add the grip in there, you have to account for all the different swing weights. Industry uses a standard 5 grams of weight equals 1 swing weight point. So 50 grams of weight would equal 10 swing weight points. We have a grip that is 68 grams, so that equals somewhere between 12 to 13 swing weight points we'll be taking off this club. Now that we know where our swing weights are going to lie and find out, the next step is going to be to grip the shaft and then get ready, prepare to glue. Alright, so now we put on the grip. My preference for the grip is logo down. Some players don't like the distraction, some do. For me personally, I like logo down. The next step is going to be to check our length. We said our target for this 60 degree was going to be 35 3/4. So once I push it up against the brace and we check where it's at, it is exactly at 35 3/4. Perfect. The next step is going to be to check our swing weight. I already had checked the raw swing weight. We were at E8.5. I had said we were going to fall anywhere between D6 and D7 was my guess. D6 3/4. So, which is perfect because that gives me just a little bit of room to add the ferrule and the glue to give me at a finishing weight of D7. Perfect. Alright, so next step here, now that we've checked our length and our swing weight and they're correct, we're going to throw the ferrule on there and then we're going to go ahead and glue. Slide her on. Actually use this nifty little tool right here. Presses it on there. Good pound down. Then I'll use the head of the club to get all the way. Hear that different sound? That's how you know you've made it to the bottom. One way to check is by using a depth gauge. So we'll go ahead in here and throw it in. There's our depth of our hosel to the base, and perfect. Our depth gauge matches perfectly up to the ferrule. Alright, next step here is going to be to prepare the glue. We don't want to use a lot of glue since we don't have too much room to work with. I mean, you could be a little off, but we like to be exact here. So, I'm going to do 1 squirt of glue. This is Tour Van shaft epoxy. 1 squirt. Cap back on. Give it a little stir. Let the epoxies bind together. And prior to just throwing the glue in here and slapping it on, we like to use centering beads. This allows the shaft to actually center within the hosel so you don't get it, more predominantly on one side or another. So just do a little sprinkle in there, put them back in, and then mix the centering beads into your epoxy. We're going to dab a little glue on there, put it in, and then I twist it as I go down just to work it on all sides of the club. Remember how we used that drill bit earlier to get into the hosel? That's to make sure all the rough edges just give us a little more texture. A little more glue. You're going to stop with the glue when it meets the ferrule and starts kind of spilling over like that. Perfect. The next step is to use a 90-degree edge and align your face, and then align your grip to be straight down. That way, every time I set up to this club, I know that my grip and my face is square to my target line. Now that it's set in this position, I'm going to maintain those angles and put it into the rack to cure. All right, guys, so now that we have the glue done drying, or the club done drying with the glue, and it's been cured, our next step is going to be to turn down the ferrule and then acetone the club to give it a nice shine. All right, so before turning down the ferrule, what I like to do first is put some protective tape over the shaft. That way I don't take off any of the nice shine. Move the shaft back on the ferrule. Keep giving it slow rotation. Keep even pressure. Pull it off. You can check your lip to see. So we still have a little bit more on this side. Even pressure all the way around. You want to be careful near the top of the ferrule where it is the thinnest part of the ferrule, so you don't want to go too thin with it. Pull it off, check it. Ooh, nice and smooth. All right, so our last and final step here is going to be to apply the acetone to the ferrule, which actually burns the final layer of the plastic into itself. So you're going to see right now it's kind of a brushed finish from the turn down, and this is going to give it a nice glossy shine. Light pressure, a couple swoops. Now take a look at it, shining. All right, after we've acetoned the club, I'm just remeasuring to make sure that everything is where my targets was. So as far as our length is concerned, 35 3/4 is spot on. I've already done my loft and lie adjustments, but we did that prior to making the club with the original shaft in it. It's right where it needs to be at 60 degrees and 63.5 degrees loft, or sorry, lie. Our swing weight, we were shooting for D7, and it's right on there. And that is a custom Titleist 60-degree Vokey wedge. Come see us at Clubcraft, guys.